Thomas, you say the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thomas. Morning, everybody. Call this meeting to order. It's Friday, July the 8th, 10 a.m. Meeting. I'd like to have Thomas say the pledge and Scott say the prayer. if you don't mind.
Everybody take the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Speak the Lord's Prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Before we go any further, we'd like to introduce our new port director, Ms. Kim Monty. Ms. Kim, would you like to say a few words? Talk about yourself?
I know. I'm excited about coming to work with you and a lot of our partners I know.
You want to come to the mic, please?
Oh, sure.
We want the public to hear you too.
Good morning. I'm super glad to be here and super glad to be working with the people that I've been living in the parish with for 30-something years now, and looking forward to getting to know everybody that I don't know and all of the partners that I don't know, and getting on with some development. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, group insurance.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm John Gregory. Does everybody have a handout? I believe they provided the
It's
spreadsheet
in
for
your
you all.
packets.
I think we had it,
I think it's on the computer.
It's in your packets.
It's in the packet.
Okay.
all right, yeah.
So, as Irvin indicated during the last meeting, we have gone out to the market and received quotes from other carriers. What we have provided you all would be those options as well as options from Blue Cross. The claims justified an increase this year. We did use those competitive numbers to try to get some relief from Blue Cross. They were not willing to do that based on the claims for the last 24 months. And so our recommendation after meeting with staff was that you all probably either remain with Blue Cross with the current plan or consider a couple of options that we have provided for you all to look at. Those options could indicate changing deductibles or increasing copays, things like that. If that's something that you all would like to do, I'm happy to get as detailed as you all would like me to do, but our recommendation was that you keep perhaps those options that we showed for future years when you had a larger increase. That seems to be what staff recommended as well, and so I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have or go over these. I didn't know if we wanted to take so much time to go over those options that we presented.
What, my biggest question is what the employee increase will be out of their paychecks?
So on the spreadsheet, what we provided you all was that at the bottom, you'll see what the employer is paying and the employee is paying.
Well, my numbers are so small, they got it on the.
I'm sorry.
Taylor, go ahead.
So you all pay 100% of the employee portion, and then you're paying on the dependents. You'll see, for example, on an employee spouse, currently the employee spouse is paying $86. With the increase, it goes to $93.12. So
86, 93, well, that's $10, almost.
Yeah, Mr. Lee, it's like $210 a year if we keep the same policy, we have the renewal, same policy.
I was looking at option 1.
yes, sir.
Now, we'd be able to reduce the
Deductible,
increase somewhat on the
out of pocket.
but it's not a whole bunch.
No, so that's a great option. I mean, it reduces the deductible from $750 to $500. The out-of-pocket goes from $2,500 up to
And it's not as-
$3,750. But for day-to-day, which are office visit copays, prescription copays, everything stays the same.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
so-
was like, and it's like, it's even cheaper for the employees too.
Correct.
So,
But,
my opinion, we need to, maybe consider that option one.
the only thing that would, not to interrupt you, the only thing that would impact is if I'm, someone who's truly ill and I go in and, whatever, have a surgery as an example, on the current plan, you'll see the out-of-pocket's 2,500, this would increase it to 3,750, from 2,500. But most folks are obviously not satisfying that out-of-pocket, they're using co-pays for doctors' visits, co-pays for prescriptions, and we're not changing that at all with those options, with that option.
And we're reducing the deductible by $250.
Well, and saving, the jury would be saving $4,000 a month
Yeah,
with that option. So we've totaled for you at the bottom, the monthly cost to the jury currently is $222,000, at renewal will be $240. The option you're discussing there would reduce the cost to $236. So that's on current enrollment.
all right, I mean, but it's, I had looked at this when I could see it on that paper y'all sent, and, Caleb, marvelous job on the email we got. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Don't want to say that. But, I looked at this, guys, and, I think we ought to, it's not gonna be, between the option, the current option and option one, on the savings to the employees on their checks would be what?
On the option one, for example, employee spouse, drops it from 93.12 to 91.65. Not much of a savings.
Couple dollars,
It's a savings.
but look, everything bad right now. I don't know if y'all notice, groceries are high,
Yep.
gas is high. So every chance we can do to help our employees with their paychecks, and this is not only gonna help the employees, this is gonna help the parish too. And I think it's gonna be a good deal because it reduces that individual, deductible from $750 to $500.
Yes, sir. It does reduce the deductible, it increases the out-of-pocket, but that just means that Blue Cross is going to begin paying sooner for things that are not covered by a copay. So, if I've got some sort of imaging or something that may not be covered by an office copay, rather than meeting the
And
$750
at least,
deductible.
I think at least we'll be showing our taxpayers that we're trying to, save the parish some money too, because
Well, that would still be, by today's standards, considered to be a very rich plan, I will tell you that. Out-of-pockets and things like that, deductibles are going up. We don't see very many of those, $500, $750 deductibles.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And as long as we can, we want to keep these benefits
The
to our.
only thing that's really gonna hurt is if you have a major surgery, you gotta go in,
It's gonna raise about.
but your odds of that is.
$1,200,
Yeah,
but.
way less than everybody going to the doctor for a copay visit.
Yeah, I mean, you would, when you're looking at the premium savings, it's not substantial, but there is some savings there to the jury in particular. But the out-of-pocket, anything that you're spending out of your pocket in the way of that 2,500 to the 3,750, that is after-tax money. So you're increasing that out-of-pocket, whereas the premiums are a pre-tax deduction. So from an employee's perspective, paying a couple dollars more to keep the plan they have right now could be attractive because it's a pre-tax deduction. The out-of-pocket that they incur is coming out of their pocket with after-tax money. I mean, that would be one thing to consider.
I just brought it up for discussion. I mean, I understand y'all's position. And if the jury is to go with them, that's their choice. I just thought that was
Either of those first two options are still attractive options, so I see your point. I mean, it's just a matter of whether you want those now or do you want to save them for, future years or whatever. But they're all attractive. And we had numbers from, like I said, United Healthcare and other carriers, and actually we just got the quote in from the association. It was, competitive, but it had a much higher out-of-pocket and things like that. So Blue Cross was still the best.
Yeah, I still like Blue Cross. I mean, they're usually pretty, good people, and a lot of doctors, and everybody uses it.
Cross and state lines and so forth.
Do you guys want to consider this and then talk about it and vote on it next month, or are you ready to make a decision on this today? Because open enrollment is the month of August, so.
I don't see putting it off as a valid option. I think if you look, we're agreeing with this, and
Is it an add-on or is it already on the?
No, it's on there, you'll just have to pick which option you
Yeah.
wanna go with.
Well, it's already on
Either
there.
the current,
Had y'all talked to the, employees and asked?
Which option they prefer, or
we
just,
Yeah, just discuss with them, maybe.
I think the only input, Kayla, you got was to please stay with Blue Cross.
Yes, everyone's asked to stay with Blue
Yeah,
Cross.
yeah, I agree with that. I've heard that too, but I haven't asked, employees on the two options, what they would prefer, you know, and I understand there's not much difference in the two options.
It's about $100 a year. Like, I did the family difference, because that's who pays the most, and the one we have now will be $210 estimated,
Right.
per year, and the other one's $100.
Yeah, that's $100.
So it's a $100 difference a
$100
year.
savings to the employees. Man, it
Plus your
ain't much,
deductible
but-
savings.
It ain't much, but
Yes, sir.
it's a help to the employees.
But if you go out of pocket on maximum, that supersedes that $100.
Yeah, oh,
Way
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, in the long run, you save $100. In the short run, you costing 25,
About
$1,000, $1,200 more.
that's what I'm saying.
You have to have surgery or something. If you go to the hospital and have surgery or something.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, well, jumper, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 employees sitting right here. What do y'all want?
Option 2 wasn't bad either, actually. It's more of a savings. It keeps the deductibles the same. It does go up out of pocket, but it's a much larger savings.
Option 1?
Option 2. You had the regular option 1 and option 2.
Option 2 don't change too much.
Option 2 is
Goes from,
$750 deductible, which is what you currently have. It increases the out-of-pocket to $4,000 as
Yeah.
opposed to the current out-of-pocket at $2,500.
But it's like a
that
3-something savings
yeah.
yeah,
instead
that
of a
don't
1.
look-
That's significant savings to the jury as well.
But
$1,000 a month.
it's a hardship on the employees. It's not,
It's
you know,
increasing
option one is at least gonna reduce the amount of your individual deductible.
But let's go back to what you were saying earlier, kind of caught the end of it, about the pre-tax.
Yes, sir.
Current plan is pre-tax, right?
Well, anything that the employee pays in the form of premium is coming out of their check on a pre-tax basis.
Right.
What I was referring to is that as you increase the out-of-pocket, the money that they spend in the form of deductibles or office visit co-pays, prescription co-pays, all of that money comes out of their pocket with after-tax money. And so as I'm increasing that out-of-pocket by whatever the number happens to be, $1,250 or $1,500, whatever it may be, that's an additional out-of-pocket to them with after-tax money. So I guess what I was trying to insinuate was for a small savings in premium, I perhaps might prefer paying more premium, okay, on a pre-tax basis, and to not increase my out-of-pocket.
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
On the medicine, is that still your medicine when you pay out of pocket on your medicine? Is that still applied to your deductible?
Applies to the out-of-pocket,
The
not the
out-of-pocket.
deductible. So it's applying to the $2,500, but not the $750. So right now, everything that you spend, whether that be your deductible or your office co-pays or your prescription co-pays,
Goes
everything is
toward the
applying to the
out-of-pocket.
$2,500, but not the $750.
Okay.
what percentage do you know of employees ever reach their out-of-pocket?
I don't have that information. I can provide that for you. And I mean, I don't want to muddy the water here, but there's the option of providing two options. So in other words, you could say, look, we want to offer both of these plans, and And if the employee wants a savings to kind of see where, obviously if you ask every employee, everybody will have a different opinion as to what they want. So you can offer two of these plans, if you chose to find out if anybody wants that premium savings. I would tell you that based on my experience, I just don't see, if you're offering the current plan and option one, I don't know that you're gonna see much migration there because there's just too little difference in premium. Y'all's contribution, the employer contribution is so generous, I just don't think you're gonna see a lot of migration to any changed plan or any additional offering. I think they're gonna probably keep what they have.
All right.
That's my opinion, but I could be wrong.
So we can probably go as far as voting on option, staying where we are, or option one, contingent upon what the employees want, and that gives them authority to take whichever one in.
All the years that I've, worked, when I was working, everybody in the Road and Bridge Department appreciated the fact that the jury was reducing the money they had to spend out of their check. I mean, they may not have told you that, but they really did. If you could save them some money, that meant a lot.
And we do offer a cafeteria plan, so if you're concerned about the out-of-pocket maximum employees not receiving that tax benefit, they know going in that if they're gonna be expected to, I think it's $1,250 more that they're gonna be required for out-of-pocket funds, they can throw that into a cafeteria plan and receive those tax benefits by reducing their earned wages by choosing that option. You're allowed to do, I think it's up to $2,750 a year now, that if you just join up for your cafeteria plan, you're gonna have those medical expenses. The jury draws money out of your check on a pre-tax basis, and then when you pay for it, you submit a receipt and we reimburse you for it. And you still receive that tax benefit. That's still an option, it's always been an option for employees.
And that's a good plan.
It's very good.
Especially if you know you're gonna have a
Yes.
schedule.
If you have prescriptions that you fill monthly, if you know that your kid's gonna have braces next year, if.
Glasses,
whatever,
it covers
glasses,
everything.
Even travel out of state for medical procedures, all of it qualifies.
Now, is that pre-tax?
Yes,
If you elect to participate, yeah.
yeah.
It's like a little medical savings account,
The only
but you don't
negative
earn anything.
thing about it is it's a use it or lose it.
Yeah.
So we're going to withdraw money and put it into that cafeteria plan for you, but if you don't spend enough of your medical expenses to submit to get reimbursed for it, then you lose that money, you can never get it back, but in all of the 15 years I've been here, I've never seen that happen.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty much,
I use all
people
mine.
don't use it unless they
Yes.
dead set that they're gonna have to use it.
Yeah.
And it just helps at the time when they have their surgery or whatever, they have the procedure, the money they gotta take out of their pocket.
I'm Richie Gregory. I met most of you earlier. For those of you who don't know, I'm John's brother. We both work together. I was just going to interject and say, we wanted you all to know that we don't take your business for granted. And when y'all had this increase, we just wanted you to know that, hey, we've gone out, we've looked at other options for you through other carriers, as well as other Blue Cross options here. It was really our recommendation, based on what we'd seen here, to keep what you had. I mean, I don't think your employees, I hate to make light of $2 or $3 a month, but they wouldn't want to change to have that out-of-pocket exposure. Our thought was really keep what you had, to know that you've got these options, and if next year, instead of a 7.8% increase, we're getting a 15% increase or something, that's when we'd really like to explore the other options and try to gain some savings there.
There you
So, so my opinion really was just to let you all know, hey, we did have options. Instead of just saying, hey, it's 7.8 and we're out the door, we had other things for you, but personal opinion was keep what you had and take advantage of something else later. All right. Thank you.
Kayla, on the email we received, the current policy, it said it'd be an average of $120 over a year for current policy and $100 for option one. You just told us 210.
Hold on, let me see. I've done it this morning. I didn't look at the email. Let's see.
Is that something that's maybe typo error?
Yeah, it might be typo.
And these are just probably averages, depending on what type of coverage you have, will dictate how much out-of-pocket you have as an employee. The most expensive is family coverage.
Yeah, and I might have
They're
done a
gonna pay
different
more.
one.
I mean, that's a big difference from $210 to $100
Let me see.
on a little bit of amount of money on the.
I think we,
I mean,
I think we'll move on. We're
I
gonna
think,
vote
yeah,
on
we
it.
can figure it out in the voting meeting. I mean,
Probably.
Yeah, because all you have to do is say current or option one.
We're gonna,
in the
we're gonna
motion.
do one of them.
I mean, the family deduction is currently 123 going to 132, and for these other options, it's 130 or 127. Once again, just not a lot of savings on the employee side. You know, the police jury's picking up the majority of the premium, so that's savings. If there's any savings, that's the other thing I was gonna say. Really, the only reason to make a change is if the jury were in a position where you felt like y'all needed to save money, then that's when you go make a change. But to the employee side of things, there's just not a big difference in premium, really.
Well, we sit up here to represent the people's money.
Yes.
I think it's
And
120.
we
I don't know
gotta
where I
be
got 210
responsible
from.
to the public.
Correct,
So
which is why we have
we
these
don't
options,
take-
I understand.
I don't take light,
Yeah,
$100,000.
Yeah, agreed, and that's why we ran these options, you know, to show you all that there are other options out there.
Employee this morning.
Because nobody in this parish would like me to overlook $100,000.
Yeah.
They just would, not when they're having to pay tons of money on taxes, like they are right now. So, just be said, and we'll move on.
Everybody satisfied?
Yep.
You got it, Eric? Good. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. We're gonna skip, item number 4. They're not here today, so we're gonna move that to the next, meeting next month. We'll move on to item number 5, COVID leave.
I put this on the agenda, to talk about, it was, maybe, Katie, you wanna make some comments on the
Yes, sir.
the
So,
thing that-
for the last 2 years, the jury has granted 80 hours of COVID leave to the employees. At the beginning of 2022, the staff did not recommend adopting that policy, those 80 hours. And so we thought everyone had enough leave at the time to get them through the year, because you were allowed to roll over all of your annual leave, all of your comp time, and everything. So, but a situation has actually come up in the last month where employees now are actually getting exposed at work. And so that sort of changes things. It's different when they're getting exposed at home and they have to use their own leave because they're exposed at home. But if they come to work and it's not their fault that they were exposed to COVID and our staff is sending them home because that's what our policy is, then it's actually, not fair to the employee. So we talked about it as a staff, what's the right thing to do? Do we ask for COVID leave? Or do we maybe make a policy change? And so I think what we would like to present to you for consideration is either option A, give them 40 hours of COVID leave and cut it off. Or option B would be give the staff the authority to close departments and send employees home for exposure at work, but not charge that employee their sick leave or annual leave because it was something that was, beyond their control. And leave that to the discretion of the administrator and the treasurer and the department head to make that call. And so in that particular scenario, you have Kayla Johnson who comes to work and Katie Ormator has COVID and I leave work, go get tested, I'm COVID, and I call Kayla and say, Kayla, I'm so sorry, I have COVID, I shouldn't have come to work sick, but I did and I exposed you. Then she can say, okay, I'm going home to quarantine and all your staff that you were with for longer than 15 minutes, closer than 6 feet, I'm sending them home for 5-day isolation, closing your department down, and we're not gonna charge any of you leave. But Katie, you still have to use your COVID. You have to use your sick leave because you're sick, not exposed at work. You came to work already sick from the weekend. And kind of leave it to the discretion of the staff.
I like it, and I think it ought to be, left up to the staff to negotiate that however y'all see fit. I just would like to see those employees, if any employee got hurt by this.
Right, make it retroactive to January 1st.
Yes.
And so, and your department heads and with the assistance of your treasurer and your administrator can help make that call, because it would be a case-by-case basis. Leave it, trust them to make the best decision for that department. And because what we're finding is a black and white, one-size-fits-all policy. There's a lot of people that have to suffer for those that are abusing and taking advantage of the system. So we'd like to be able to have the authority, if you choose that option, to make that determination on whether or not we're gonna charge the employee leave or not for sending them home.
I agree.
Is that something we need to add to the policy, or is this just a vote on, or just you're gonna fix it?
I really don't know, is our DA here?
Do you need that in a policy, or is that just a direction, like a?
Just a voting item.
But we're not really changing our policy, it's mainly just the jury's gonna give us authority to send employees home at our discretion and not charge them annual leave if it's something beyond their control. Do we need like to formulate a policy, or can we just take direction?
I think that would be my suggestion, that would be your policy. I mean, I would formulate that, because that is,
Okay.
if you're dealing with pay and either allowing pay while they're not working or not allowing pay, and I think that's a policy decision that they should make,
Okay.
and then allow the department head to have discretion.
So make it as an
I think we
add-on,
just,
add it on to the, and we'll get the
Y'all good
verbiage
with
right,
it,
we'll work
guys?
with.
I'm good with it. The only thing that I have to say is, if an employee feels ill that morning, he needs to check it themselves to make
Yeah,
sure
they need to-
before they come to work. Because, I mean, I'm sorry, I have to admit that I was one that, whether I was ill or not, I went to work. That's not a good idea. So if they feel ill, and now, like I said, with COVID being like it is, they need to check themselves. If they feel ill, check themselves before they do come to work.
yeah, and be responsible is what we're trying to get our employees to be, without having to hurt other people in the meantime.
Yeah, because when
That
you,
has no,
well, when you take one department out completely, you're affecting the whole parish. So, like I said, and look, if they're sick, they need to stay home. I have no problem with that.
and if the thing, and another thing too, I think, if the guidance from the medical establishment makes changes, then we need to adjust. When the professionals say that this don't need to be this way no more, and we need to adjust our policy too, in the future. But one time it was go home for 14 days, now it's go home for 5 days. 2 months from now, they might tell you, go home for a day. I don't know. But if they do, we need to adjust our policy to meet that.
Okay, everybody's happy with that? Okay. Let's move on to, one I really want an update on, is number 6, the PBDR update.
And so we actually have our consultants here today to give you an update on where that program stands and how many properties have been approved by FEMA. And so I'll let her introduce herself. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Tanisha. I work by HDA. And currently we have 104 properties that are eligible for debris removal. So right now we're working with Katie to get that contractor procured for those debris removal properties. Once we have that taken care of, we can move expeditiously on getting the debris removed. We have 15 properties approved for demolition. 26 are ineligible. As of last night, I was able to get those 26 scheduled for another structural assessment by our structural engineer. He'll go back out to those properties, take a look at them, do a deeper assessment than what the contractor did prior to see if we can get FEMA to overturn those decisions and make them eligible. And then we can increase those numbers. As of right now, we have 66 applications that we are working through that have not been processed. So we're working with the team to get through those to make sure we have all of the required documents for them, make sure everything's been sent to FEMA, check back in with FEMA to see if we need to do anything extra for those properties. And 2 weeks ago, we submitted batch 9, which are also demo properties, and we are currently waiting on FEMA's response for those.
So, does that include like, debris removal, does that include stumps and?
Yes, sir.
All of that, that's all included?
It includes tree limbs, hangers, white goods, tree stumps, split trees, trees that are halfway hanging that need to be cut down.
I would like to see us start that project up. And then at some point before the contractor leaves, information be brought back to the jury on what it would cost to get all the projects taken care of. Follow me?
That we're not.
That it's not gonna qualify.
Okay.
That would not qualify for FEMA, but maybe the jury would feel that it would qualify for us to pay for.
Is that on the debris side or demolition? Because
Demolition.
Or demolition.
I don't say that debris is,
debris is going to be pretty much approved across the board, so we shouldn't have any problems with debris removal. But for your demo properties, once we get those back from FEMA, the special batch that we're going to submit, if some come back where they still say, no, it's absolutely not eligible and we will not be reimbursing for that demolition, that group of properties we would give back to the parish, and then you guys would,
because
you know,
the
could do
fact
whatever
of the
you were
matter
doing with them
is
through your
that
condemnation process.
we're probably gonna take those properties are gonna be put to the parish for condemnation. And then if we let our contractor go, then we'll have to hire a new contractor just to come in and take care of that, which will spend a whole lot more money.
So,
And that's data that we can assist the parish with obtaining. What we've done with this project, HGA, we've been involved about almost a month with this, and we had to go back and validate a lot of the data and information that was provided to the parish and to us to go through, and there was a lot of inconsistencies. And so going forward, what we have done, the team that Tanisha's leading, is validated the data, and we've created dashboards so that the parish has real-time, real-world data and dollar values, so that you know where you at the end of the day with dollars. So that is actually something that we could assist the parish with.
Is the parish, or is this group notifying applicants that they were denied, that they're being denied, or status of their application?
so currently, when we came on, we sent out an email to all of the applicants that have applied for this program. And through that process, through email, text messages, and phone calls, I've been reaching out to those applicants and giving them a status update. So not all of them know just yet, as we're continuing to work through the 100 and some odd applicants, but many of them know now that they were considered ineligible and what we're doing to try to fix that. Some of them know that they were eligible, and we're in a process. It's been a little while now, but just be patient with us. We're gonna get you to the finish line.
Because
And then
that's important.
Yes, sir.
Because if somebody is qualified and they say, look, it might take 2 months, you might say, well, it's gonna take a couple of months, but you're gonna qualify, we're gonna take your stuff. Then they might not spend the money if they know.
And the system that we have in place, that if Tanisha's on a call with an applicant, a homeowner, and someone calls in, it gives them an alert on the system. And we have in our system that you have to notify. So a member of our team is calling those homeowners constantly. So it's continuously open communication with the homeowners, because these people have gone through a lot, and we're finding out that there wasn't communications with them. So we're circling back the wagon with these homeowners and making sure they're kept in a loop. If there's an issue that the team identifies, we're rectifying that issue with the homeowner. And I want to say we're hand-holding. We want to help the homeowners through this process. And that's what kind of separates us from everyone else. We've done these projects in many other jurisdictions. It's been very successful. And we've actually been told, wow, we didn't know that this is how the projects were tracked and handled and the communications, so.
That's all I wanted to say. Just in the month since they have come on, the applicants and residents have a direct person, which is Tanisha, that they can call. So instead of calling our office, and we didn't have a lot of the information on hand, so to look at that person's specific case as to where it was with FEMA or where it was being held up, if they were denied, still in the process, she's been knocking it out of the park. The whole team has.
That's
So
great.
Casey and I are extremely appreciative of that. We've moved more projects forward and gone further in the last month than we have in the last 6 to 7 months, if not longer than that.
Okay,
Well, that's-
So we are very, very appreciative. The system works phenomenally. It's seamless. Casey can get in there and see what Tanisha did 5 minutes ago. You know, it's great.
The
So
system-
we appreciate it.
The system that was in place with the parish before, if one of you jurors or Katie called Casey and asked for her to run the data, it would take her an entire day to put the numbers and the information that you're requesting. Now, if someone asks, she opens up her screen, clicks, print, and it's downloaded in less than 3 seconds.
Okay, so the big question is, when does the program, admittance to the program end?
I'm sorry.
Say today, somebody calls you and says, hey, you know, I need you to inspect my property, I think this needs to be torn down, and I wanna get into the program.
Well, that's left up to Katie and the parish, how long you want to leave the portal open for your residents to apply.
Did we close that yet?
No, we're still
Nope.
taking new applications daily.
Okay, so y'all.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We've had more people sign up.
Oh, okay.
And I think the increase in the volume of people showing interest is because word spreads pretty quick in Cameron Parish. Hey, we've got somebody that's calling us back and following up with us. I think, well, maybe before it might have been an issue,
Yeah.
couldn't get an answer, so.
And a lot of, I know of some properties, people were waiting on it and didn't hear a word. And I'd make inquiries and, you know, and we didn't have a real good answer for them.
Well, you're gonna have answers now, I can promise you that.
They just went ahead and took care of it themselves. They spent their own money to take
Right.
care of it. And I hated that,
Yeah.
but
That's disheartening.
And you
that's-
do,
that's
there,
horrible news.
there is numbers on the dashboard for that data. So you do have some residents that have withdrawn from the program due to the length of time that it is taken, and they chose to use their own resources to take care of their property. So
Thank y'all.
unfortunately, there are some of those, but
thank y'all very much. And as soon as we can get this kick-started to where the ones that do qualify can get out, that we can get that taken care of, the better off we are.
And another thing for the parish is, you know, a lot of jurisdictions we work with, they like to use local contractors. That's great because you keep the money in your parish, right? So one of the other services that HGA offers in all projects that we manage through FEMA, CDBG, American Rescue Plan funding, whatever it is, we assist the jurisdictions with the procurement. So, because the last thing that you need at the end of the day, whether it's through FEMA or legislative auditors coming back, saying it's something that you did in your procurement is not eligible for reimbursement, whether it's the state or the feds. So the parish is gonna need to decide, you're gonna do procurement for local contractors, you're gonna use your current debris contractor. That's something that's we're working with Katie and her staff now on. So when you get ready for that, we're engaged in that as well. We're hand-holding, we're a staff augmentation for Cameron Parish. We work for you. It's just,
Well,
you don't pay us, we'll get paid by
Yeah, I'm ready for you to get to work myself, because yesterday alone, I can tell you, I had 10 phone calls. And it wasn't for the individuals that own the property, it's for the individuals that has to look at it and want to know when it's gonna be cleaned up.
The neighbors. Yeah.
So,
and if you get any of those phone calls from your residents that say this is a site for sore eyes, just give them the number, have them to call me, and let me put in that application. Let me search the address, figure out who it belongs to, get an application, contact them, and let's get them in the program.
Because as elected officials, the worst answer you can give to your constituents is, I don't know.
Well, guess what?
So now with the way the system that we have, where let me check, and it takes you days to follow up, that's political suicide. So, but this way, now you've got the data, real time, real world. So if you make the call and say, hey, where's this at in the process? We can give you the information.
Yes,
Like that.
Real quick, 2 questions, I think it's more for Katie than anybody else. Where is this debris going?
It has to go to a.
Out of parish, it's going out of parish?
Landfill.
No,
Yes.
well, Wendell Wilkerson's trying to get final disposal clearance, and so if his, I don't know where his permit is, Kara, do you know?
I don't have it.
I mean, he had his hearing, but if he gets, if he gets approval from DEQ for it to be a final disposal, then we'll always be able to haul anything in Lower Cameron directly to him for final disposal, but then everything else outside of Cameron Parish. The only other final disposal site is like Waste Management, JevCon, those type of locations that have final disposal.
So he's
there.
working on that.
I think,
And of course, everything with your DEQ clearances, because some of your properties may fall into asbestos and where it requires special
That's
contamination
what come
to.
with inspections.
Right.
The second question would be, is this gonna be on a cost-sharing deal, just like the first debris removal? Is the parish gonna be on it for, what is our percentage?
10%.
10%.
10%?
But there is, so it's 90-10 right now, but there is talk that the disaster CDBG funds will be allocated to the parish to cover that 10%, that non-federal share. That's not approved yet, but the state is working on that. So there's potential that it could, all of our disaster recovery could be covered at 100%.
And Katie's correct on that. There is legislation and discussion on that, and we're tracking it on our side at HGA. Myself, senior management, we're in those conversations, so that we can take and give the information as quick as we hear it. Let the jurisdictions know, hey, the 10% cost share is no longer your responsibility.
I personally would like to see the program stay open, and at least until we start the contract, and let those contractors be out there removing that debris. Because what you're gonna have is you're gonna have other people in other places that's gonna say, oh, the parish is the FEMA's picking that up, hey, I got some, and I don't want them people left out, we wanna clean it up.
We work for y'all, y'all set the timeline.
So we need to extend that at least
Yes, sir.
beyond the,
I hate to put them on the spot, but this will kind of answer your question too. Do you see a problem with us bidding it out in batches? Like, can we go ahead with the 30 that are approved, bid those out now, and then 6 months later, we have more that are, another 30, then we'll bid that out? Do you see a
There's
problem
things in
with
the
that?
FEMA world that's always bid in batches, whether on the construction side, public works side, so as long as it follows your pay policy, and we will circle back and review your pay policy, bid it out in batches, and if the parish feels that's the quickest way, and we can make a better determination to assist you in making that decision, but I don't see any issue with it. Bid it out in batches,
Mine
or bid it
is
out.
prioritizing the type of debris, such as the homes that need to be taken apart, and then and batch that up, and that, to me, that's what needs to be done first.
maybe we need to get a batch and let us look and see what's all involved in that first batch. And that might answer your questions.
I don't
So
wanna get in too deep,
can
but
I
like I
just
said-
interject for a second? So when the contractor gets it and they take a look at the properties that we have, you give them the list, they have to go out and look at the properties to determine how much debris is out there, what equipment do they need? They have to measure, they have to figure that out to determine what teams they need, what trucks and equipment they need. Once they do that, then they'll break it down and they'll schedule and they'll say, okay, this group on this side of the parish has all of these together, so we're gonna do these 15 properties this week. This group is over here with this type of debris, these are the equipment that we need here, we're gonna do those in those batches. So we have the ability to break it down like that. Once the contractor is secured and can go out there and take a look at what's really out there, then we can break it down and say we're gonna do batches of 20 or we're gonna do batches of 15. Staying with your procurement policy and staying under the 250,000 cap. So that's kind of how it
Well,
works.
this is my thing. When it comes to the eyesores or the homes that are damaged, it's not just hurting the public, it's actually hurting the people that actually needs to be done. So to me, you really need to do those first. But I mean, the other debris, the
Oh,
trees
yeah, I
and
see
everything
what
else,
you're
I mean, that's.
I agree with that. I
So
agree
would it be safe then to say if we gave you the list of 104 that's ready, if you go through and look what belongs to your jurisdictions and see which ones are the eyesores for you guys, break those out and let me know what those properties are, and then we can special batch those first and then batch out the other ones?
Yeah, but we don't want to stop the procurement process. We want that to move forward.
The most important thing, though, to keep in mind is that you are bankrolling this program.
So FEMA's a reimbursement program, so it's not that, I'm not so concerned about it being eligible, it's just the timing of when you're gonna get reimbursed. So you got to make sure, and we can really talk about that in a finance meeting, do we have enough surplus funds that we can bankroll this program and maybe not get reimbursed for 18 months later? Because I'm gonna tell you, I got an Ike PW just 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Funds. So if you wanna do, I would take their advice, maybe try a smaller batch first and leave it open, something that you know we can certainly afford to bankroll for 6, 8, 10 months. And then if the money is coming in from FEMA, getting reimbursed, and then we can go ahead and do maybe the second batch and maybe do it that way, because.
And one of the things, again, along those lines, because we always try to make sure to keep the parish, the jurisdiction, work with cash flow positive. If you do it in batches and you have your contractors running all over, that's going to increase, and you put that in your advertisement and that for your procurement, that's going to increase your mobilization costs by the contractors. You know, it still has to be deemed cost reasonable, but it's a few dollars, but those few dollars spread out through the parish on 104, 150, 170 homes, it's going to add up over a period of time if you have it to where now the batches, the contractors can work in geographical locations of jurisdiction. Just something to consider.
Yeah, I think they need to stay in areas, clean everything up in a certain area.
Again, it's a parish decision.
The only thing I have is like disposal fees, Katie. I mean, I like to keep it local, but if whatever it's costing a yard over here, I mean, if you can do it, hate to see it go out of the parish, but we need to make sure that the disposal fees are compatible, or, you know.
Yes, sir. Well, and that'll really be determined, that'll be negotiated between the contractor on which disposal site they're gonna use. The contractor has that discretion to make that determination.
Yeah, but we don't, but
Yeah.
we're the ones having to pay the.
We always appreciate, we always want to lean towards if we got somebody in our parish that
Yes.
can take this material. You know, we want them to have the business.
And-
I do.
Right now, we don't have
We've
a
got to
site
support them.
in Cameron Parish for final disposal.
I do have a couple questions.
But-
One good
right.
question here is, we don't know where these sites are. We're discussing stuff up here that we have no idea, because until we get the locations of all these sites, then we could sit down and come up with a plan of how we'd like to go forward from there.
So for
Right.
the next meeting, maybe we'll present to you guys the properties that were approved already,
Yes.
and maybe a cost estimate. We could run some numbers on what it costs maybe in other parishes for demo, and maybe kind of give you a broad range of what we think it could cost.
And an
If we get
estimate,
it out,
So,
and then we'll be able to ask your parish treasurer if we can.
and also an
Yeah.
estimate of when we can actually see trucks on the ground picking up debris.
We already have your authority to bid. We could start advertising it as early as next week if we need to.
We authorize it,
We don't have to wait for another police jury meeting to get authority if you don't want to.
let's get a list of all the
You got a
properties
list with
first
you?
and
I'm
send it
sure
out
she
to
can
us.
probably get a list to you by the end of today.
we have to print it.
We'll
Great.
get you
I'll
one.
look at that too.
Okay, thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all.
You're welcome, thank you.
Beating a dead horse.
Okay, we're gonna move on to, number 7, Angle Bay update. Gary?
I was out for a few days, doing some survey work over Angler Bay. I went through pretty much the entire subdivision as well as Bonton Bay up on the north end. Basically, I surveyed the data. Concrete roads running about 20 feet wide. Most of the asphalt road that's remaining, which is what's in blue on y'all's sheets, is probably at a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 rating, meaning it's going to need an overlay, and it's got patches and stuff that still need to be done with it. Most of it's only running about 18 to 19 feet wide. Parish requirements right now is 20 feet for that. All of this yellow is what asphalts have been overlaid with rock or already failed, so they've been installing rock over the last few years. including the intersection, which I did not mark out yet, but the 3 curves that go in and most of the main road is all still within rock. Recommendations for now, I mean, I've got it, I think that the concrete should be at the correct thickness and doesn't meet the 24 feet wide requirements, but it's not curb and gutter. And it's a standard 20 feet wide, which I believe is adequate for this open ditch drainage. With that being said, the pages y'all have in front of you, I did this as a just quick fix overlay project and patch, and I came out about $650,000 where to get the current road up to our standards, just as go in, patch the bad spots, regrade, and overlay it, you're looking about $650,000 on the low side most likely. And with what y'all got in front of you, to get it out to the 20-foot width and make sure that there's the 8.5-inch sub base or base course with a 3-inch overlay, we're probably looking closer to still $1 million to cover the rock, all of the rock and all of the asphalt that's in the area, and get it to the current 20-foot width. The only thing that doesn't include would be cul-de-sacs, which is also supposed to be, are also required for any dead-end roads over 600 feet. Doesn't include any kind of drainage. I just didn't have time to go in and do all the design work. But I think that most of the road, Gulfway Drive is the existing parish road coming into that subdivision. That road is at 3.2 to 4 foot elevation all the way down the center line. The majority, which is a good thing, the majority of Angler Bay is at 3.5 or above already, and with the existing rock and whatnot. So there are some low spots. I do have some profiles and stuff. There are some low spots below this yellow line, which are below the 3.5 foot, but there are some high spots. So I think some of this rock may be able to be moved and graded. So I think we could probably keep the project between, or they could keep the project between the 650 and 900,000 range, and have a contractor regrade the ditches and stuff within that same process. I've got it estimated at about $150 a linear foot, just because the increased costs and everything is why I have it that way, and that's the sheet that y'all have in front of y'all. And also on that sheet, there's about 1,870 foot of concrete, linear foot of concrete roads that I, like I said, recommend for acceptance. I think it's going to meet criteria. But with the gravel and the asphalt being in the conditions they are, I believe that we need to probably have replace or overlay both of those to come up to the current requirements. Y'all have any questions or details you want to see?
Now, the prices you quoted, that's all of the roads?
That's everything for all 3 of the subs, or 3 or so of the subs that are in there. You have Bonton Sub up in the northeast corner. You've got a new subdivision that came in along the west side of it.
We want to make sure we get them all so that we don't have the next door neighbor saying, well, you.
Where's the parish stop at?
Where's the parish stop at?
The
Right.
parish, okay,
Gulfway.
so none of this north is the parish?
Everything's private from Gulfway north.
Well, I mean, my thing is, we should never cross private property to get to a public road. You shouldn't accept property inside the subdivision until you accept the road to the project, the part of that's gonna be accepted.
But that's part of that road too, isn't it? All the way to
There,
the.
it's
all the way to
all
the-
part. I'm not recommend, excuse me. I recommended that for acceptance, being that it's not gonna have to have any construction. It's really gonna be a decision on y'all of how we do this.
Oh, okay. So I thought you was recommending us to accept this.
I apologize.
No.
Right now, I mean, I recommended that it could be accepted, is what I'm saying. There's little to no construction that would be needed for that concrete, with, like I said, about 1,870 linear foot of concrete within there. So there's almost 8,000 linear feet of roadway in these three subs, between these three subs. And that's about almost a third of it.
But if we accepted it, we would have to go in there and spend $1 million to get it up to par.
No.
No, sir. Not without doing an ordinance change to be able to do that.
We can't accept nothing
what we had
until you
talked to-
can get to it.
There's
Whole road,
you could
not a
accept
portion of the
that
whole
right,
road.
you could accept the right of way if you wanted to accept those concrete sections. You could accept an access agreement for us to be able to travel where we're not maintaining that portion. I'm just saying there are options. And that's my job to give you the option.
They'll take you to court and sue you and say you tore it up and now you ought to fix it. So you got with the association over there, their home?
They're actually here, and there's a couple of them here. They're finding out as y'all are. I haven't shared the information.
I mean.
So what's the zoom in that, I think Mr. Lee's really.
Mr. Silver, you want to step up here, please?
Sure.
The section that, to get into the subdivision, from that point, go all the way to where the rocks stop, right there. What it would cost to have them fix that section, that part of that road, is from the concrete to the parish road. Because you'll never, in my opinion, you're never gonna get these owners.
It's about 2,200 linear feet.
You'll never get these homeowners to afford to be able to pay to fix the whole subdivision until we accept it. Let's fix the front side, accept that, then they can move on down the road. That's my opinion. I don't know
At
if
the current
that.
estimate, you're probably looking 300 to 330.
Mr. Silver?
That was actually one of the things that a possibility that we could work with the parish on a cost sharing basis. You know, we're gonna get the owners. So far, over the past 8 or 10 years, the property owners have been putting up $400 per property to maintain the roads. I don't know exactly what the total is over that time period, but I think we could probably get a pretty good guess at it. And so if we could make an arrangement with the parish to do some sort of cost sharing, to improve Angler Bay to its intersection with Pierce Mitchell is where the concrete starts. That would be something I think that we could get our homeowners to do. But, you know, I can't make any promises, but one of the ideas, I wanted to visit with Gary about exactly what needs to be done, how much is it gonna cost? And so, you know, we're at a point where, you know, we're making some progress with the jury, and we realize that, you know, the jury's it's gonna cost some money, but we also realize it's probably gonna cost us a little bit of money to get this done. So I think we're willing to go forward if we can just come up with a good plan.
I think you ought to get together with Gary and maybe Katie and try to work this out and get a number figure. I mean, I don't know why it costs the jury money on a road that we need to accept that's not up to specs.
Yeah, that was the whole reason.
If it ain't 20 foot wide, it needs to be 20 foot wide.
The whole
We can take it.
reasoning-
We don't need to go build a road 20 feet wide that never was.
Well,
The whole thing here, guys, I don't think we're talking about building the road. We're talking about what they need to do to the road before we can accept it, okay?
Right.
And we're going over the specs, it needs to be 20 feet wide, it needs to be up to a certain finish.
Right.
And then we can accept it. And that's what we need to get. It says, okay, he's got some estimates, but we don't actually have a hard bid. We don't really know what it's gonna cost. It may be cheaper. We may be able to get it done cheaper.
I am trying to be conservative, a little on the higher side, so but I think that 150 is going to be pretty close.
And if we can get to that point, get that first part of that road to our existing parish road, we should be able to move forward. If it's up to spec, maybe we can accept it.
Yeah, we can piecemeal it, it'd be ideal.
Okay, Mr. Silver, so, what I'm understanding here is if, your group, you can get with your group and get a committee together to talk with Gary and Katie to come up with a plan to complete the road to your cement is what you're gonna have to do.
And then we ought to be able to adopt all of it because the cement is up to par.
Right.
That section of cement, but we won't be able to accept over on the 2 east roads to the other section of cement
Yeah, exactly, until that. meets
until that section of road is
criteria.
done.
And that's what
But
and that's what I was.
It's gonna take a group, your group, a committee, your, Gary and Katie, to get together and make that decision.
Yeah, if we can get, if we can get a firm cost estimate on what that will, what the cost of improving that road, so to the point where it's acceptable for Gary and for the parish, then we can present it to our homeowners and say, okay, are y'all willing to do this?
I believe that, working with Gary and Katie, or whoever Katie designates, and with the group, you're gonna need a spokesman group that's gonna be able to agree with what you come up with.
Yeah.
So,
We've had good cooperation from the property owners, we did title opinion of who owns the roads, and we've got the approval from all the property owners, to dedicate the roads and the right-of-ways and everything, so everybody's been cooperative, and I think we think this is important for our subdivision, and as long as the parish is willing to work with us, I think we can go forward.
Well, like you said, once y'all get together and you come up with a plan, then you can come back to us and we can.
Okay.
I just want to make one comment.
You with me?
The one comment is, I want you to know, and the public to know, until we got an engineer hired, you were the first one that ever had this benefit, public benefit, being used for y'all's subdivision. This never happened nowhere else. They had to go, the subdivision would have to go and hire an engineer, an architect, and bring it to our state. We're actually loaning you our engineer. So you just know that, and I want the public to know that outside of the parish, that is why we hired this person to help our public in that way.
So he can thank us for his job.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we all work for the public.
I got you.
We all work for the public.
Before we come back with the plan, he kind of offered an idea of accepting it, piecemealing it, accepting it in segments. Are you guys willing to entertain that idea before we go work on it?
Yeah, we accept, we
Small
always.
sections as they can afford it.
Like where it's right there, if we get it made up to the cement, we can accept all that and the cement that's hooked to it. But the pieces that's not cement that needs to be redone, and you got cement over here, well, we can't adopt that because if we're going across it with big trucks and stuff, they would say, they could say we damaged it, so, yeah.
But everybody,
From cement on.
Yeah.
but everybody in the whole subdivision, in my opinion, needs to appreciate that until you get the front part work fixed, everybody's got to pass through the front part.
Right.
Even the ones that live in the back, they're not gonna wanna pay for right now.
Yeah.
But they ought to have to pay, they ought to be paying, everybody that uses that road should
It's
have
all
to.
up to them, Lee. Let them take care of that part.
Okay, let's go.
Let's move.
Thank you.
Another dead horse.
I get a little wind in
Thank
that
you,
tire.
sir.
Little.
My wife don't let me talk that much anymore.
Now, let's move to item 8. Don't you have to go to the bathroom?
Oh, no.
Pelican Point, Gary.
Yes, sir. About 95% complete with Pelican Point at this time. Y'all's package, y'all should have some finished photos and whatnot. The only thing they have left to do is install the striping. And even with the striping, which I changed up the striping from just the thermoplastic double yellow line down the center, I moved it to a latex striping. And we're going to install a double yellow striping down the new section, white stripes on each edge. And we're going to install 50 raised pavement markers down the center line, 200 feet before, 600 feet through, and 200 feet after the new section, just to help delineate, and it's all reflective, including the striping. And it comes in about $900 cheaper than what just the thermoplastic striping was going to go. Before and after, the striping is already in very poor condition, so we wanted to delineate the new section, especially where the new shoulders are, because on the marsh side, it's a pretty steep drop-off, which it's a steep drop-off all the way in because of the channels that was dug to build the road. But it goes from asphalt to grass to asphalt, so there's no delineation mark other than the delineation post that we had, it's installed back during the high water event.
So you're gonna put markers there?
We're doing double yellow striping, white line striping through that 600-foot section, and pavement markers 200 feet before, through, and after the new section.
That's a great idea, because they
help make sure that it's.
And you talked about maybe moving those delineator posts closer to the,
We can't move them much closer because they're at the toe of the asphalt. We wouldn't be able to drive them through the asphalt. And I mean, we can also install some other delineator posts if we need to, but I think that's why, I think the striping is gonna help out a lot. The road went from, that section of the roadway, especially went from about 14 feet wide to about 17 feet wide now, with the shoulders. So 2 cars can comfortably pass. You don't have to worry about them pulling off the edge of the road as much, and things like that. So I think overall it came out very clean throughout there. They actually cut down 2 inches at the tie-ins and created a 4-inch butt joint for their last lift. So it actually should hold up fairly well over the poor subsoils that are in that area. You can feel the trash trucks as they drive by. The whole road pumps. So the only thing we can do is kind of keep reaching over it.
to Louisiana.
Looks good.
I'll say this, Gary was with them the whole time they were doing it, and they did an excellent job on that road.
Looks good. Thank you.
So overall, we should be about $10,000 under the bid budget. And that should keep us just under, I think, the 2020 cost estimate.
Can you get chip seal for 20,000?
Chip seal, what you want some chip seal
For the rest of that road? They'd be
Maybe.
crazy.
Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, it does. The rest of it does look bad.
All of it on the Gulf Highway right now. Yeah, we need to keep an eye on that too. Like I said, and that kind of money, we want to make sure that.
And this works, because we got several others to raise at some point in time, so we'll make sure this works good.
It's expensive, but I don't think this section is going anywhere anytime soon.
At some point, we're gonna have to look at some chip seal or some kind of work, somebody has. Somebody's got a, he's got a
That
bunch
road's
of need to be
probably rated
elevated.
at about a 2 out of 10 at the moment. It's in pretty rough shape. We need to probably look into pulling up and coming back and doing a full overlay on top of the existing
Right.
soil cement.
Right.
Tell you what, the state did, you ought to go look at that when you get into the big pasture area. The state did an a 3-shot or some kind of chip seal. But that's something new, I'd never seen that.
never have either.
They got some rock left at the barn in Grand Lake that they didn't use, I guess they give it to us.
They're not finished.
Oh.
They didn't give it yet.
Water's right.
He thinks it's ours, where can I put it?
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Gary.
We'll move on to item number 9, Mark Daigle variance for mechanic shop.
Yeah, I'm planning on starting a small business with the hope in expanding at a future date. I would like to start fixing flats, do vehicles inspections, and performing work on vehicles and numerous equipment. Businesses are not flocking to Kemper Parish, possibly due to inflation, or strict elevation requires in Cameron Parish. I would like to see my community grow and prosper. Therefore, I am asking for a variance. If the president or any of the jury members have any questions at this time, I would like to answer them and put everyone's mind at ease.
Question? Mark, you plan on fixing flats? You got working on a tire, getting a tire machine and stuff like that?
Yep,
man?
I done looked at it, and I have it all upon approval, because I don't want to go and spend $2,500 on a tire machine, right at $5,000 on the lift to make the job easier. I do have jacks, I got all the equipment, knowledge, ties with ports places in Lake Charles and everything, and been in that type of environment since I was probably 15. And upon approval, I would go out and start purchasing all this stuff and get everything rolling, LLCs and all that. But if I don't get the approval, it's not convenient or feasible for me to, continue this venture.
Miles, can he, at his existing building, what requirements to change oil, fix flats, or?
It's a business that he's gonna conduct out of, and it's public, gonna be in and out, or going to the restroom or whatever. So we reached out to FEMA Region 6, and it don't qualify for them to approve the variance. Of course, it's our ordinance, but it's not one that's in, we can actually say it's good to do. I'm saying that right. At the last meeting, y'all asked for more information from Mr. Daigle, and he did provide it, so y'all got it in y'all's packets.
I got a couple quick questions. On some of these businesses, are they required by state or federal to provide a restroom, to provide a lobby area?
Yes.
They are required,
Yes,
even for dropping a tire off to get it fixed?
If it's an established business, that's what he's wanting to have, an established business. You gotta have public restroom. And for the workers also, you gotta have it for the workers.
I've been in contact with the fire marshal's office. They told me I have to have a restroom. If I put it inside the work area, I do not have to have it up to code for like handicap, and they're not gonna, have to be up to code for anything, and it would basically be for the workers. Now, if I had an office and the door open into the office, it would have to be handicap accessible, the whole works. So I have been in contact, and they are, requiring a bathroom. We looked at a few options to try to get away from that.
Well, the reason I'm asking, we did have this discussion, is he had an office, it would have to be elevated to meet code with a restroom. But I'm still worried about the building downstairs to do that type of work. If you're dropping off tires and they're doing the work on the ground, and it's not open to the public they would need a restroom or anything like that, why couldn't have that portion of the building? And then if he wants to build an office later or expand that business, then he has to meet the code.
All your mechanical, all your electrical has to meet elevations. That's the way it's written in the ordinance. And again, the variance, when you request a variance, there's only, and I don't have the list in front of me, but it's got to be close proximity to water or hardship or something like that. There's a list, but we went through them a while back. But like I said, we did reach out to FEMA, and they said, no, you're establishing a structure of business. Everything in it's got to meet elevations, the electrical, mechanical, the structure itself. So we tried to talk to them and reason with them and say, look, it's a mechanic shop. How can we just put the mechanic shop below elevation, use dry flood, wet flood proof material and stuff like that, and put the flood vents? And
they didn't want to fly.
No, sir.
So they're saying we can't even use the building?
That's correct. It's a business, people's gonna come in and out.
No, I'm not talking about the bathroom, I'm just talking about the building part.
Kara talked to him while I was out, so I mean, that's where we at.
Yeah, that's what they say, Kara? I mean, the building has to be.
Correct. This is, the only way for the applicant to apply for this type of business is through the variance. We can't issue a development permit for him to do a business like it is right now, without going through the variance process.
So they want his tire,
Whole building.
You know what, it's tire machines?
The whole
too?
structure.
How's the business gonna come down to Cameron? How's them businesses operating on them docks?
Well, there's a.
They're elevated, their offices,
So
but they
there's.
still can work on the floor.
That's correct. So there's different types of variances that FEMA allows, which is functionally dependent use.
Kara, can you come sit by the mic?
Yeah.
So there's
Oh,
different,
different kinds
there
of
is.
variance.
I mean, you gotta show it's, you're in, you know, your business is in good standing. It is a hardship. You can't load and offload cargo materials, on a 20-foot high elevated warehouse. So them type of projects are eligible for a variance through FEMA.
How in the hell you gonna get tires up 14 foot in the air?
Well, that's how the school.
Yeah.
Where they work on the buses, you gotta build something like that to be able to work.
I mean, they allowed you to put the warehouses, you could do a variance and put the warehouse
Right.
close.
It's functionally
close-
dependent use, so it's close proximity.
Close to the water, and that office and all that has to be elevated, but they let them put the warehouses on the ground, wet flood proof material, and we still made them put their vents in, if it was totally enclosed. But that's allowable, that's
FEMA allow that.
FEMA allows it. I mean, some more
Dig
we
a
went
pond in
through
your
like that.
backyard. I mean, I don't know what to say.
They let us do the
We're
helicopter
allowed to sell
place
it.
over there, but they ain't, I mean, this is different for some reason.
Where's this located at?
It's, right there in Creo by the four-way stop, probably an eighth of a mile, right there on the left heading towards
How
Cameron.
about a telephone tower?
Where the store used to be?
Just on this side.
This side of the
Oh.
store.
Yes, sir.
This is so aggravating. I still have the opinion that I don't wanna issue another variance for nothing. Don't get
Yes,
me
sir.
wrong. I'm nothing against you. It's the fact that we can't issue variances to our old people to come back down home.
Absolutely, I agree.
Because they gotta move, old people gotta climb up 14 foot, 17 foot in the air on a ladder. If we can't issue variances for that, I don't know how many people you got.
I
Open a
think it's bad
business.
here. I wanna build a building in Lake Charles, I gotta be 18 foot above sea level.
That's crazy.
And I'm in the egg zone.
That's crazy.
Ma'am, you have something to say?
I do. He's
Stand up,
wanting to-
please.
I'm sorry. He's wanting to open a tire shop and a small business. My suggestion is, what if he opens a roadside service out of a cargo trailer and a pickup truck? You could do that.
Yeah, absolutely, but I would still want to use my structure, and I don't want to cut the parish off from having fundings for like, businesses, taxes or whatever. I want to do my part.
They would still have your business. They're gonna still want their money, you're still gonna have a business. You're gonna operate out of a vehicle.
But he can't do mechanic work out of a trailer.
Well,
Pull
you're
the
not gonna be
engine
able to
out
have the
and-
extensive business, but if you start small and start there, then maybe they're gonna see the potential and allow you to do your business as you want.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that totally, but the type of work I'm doing it requires, I doubt I could do it out of a trailer. I could probably go do numerous jobs, like I done went out at 7, 8 o'clock at night to Kiewit, got them off the road. Numerous peoples, I do work, I go out, if they're cutting hay on weekends or something, they can get in a mechanic shop. Me and my father and stuff, we've been doing this for years. I'm just trying to turn it into a livelihood and see if I could be some help.
Yes, sir.
Question, Miles, any recommendations on what possibly could be done to change some of this stuff around to where it can be accepted? I mean, is the building,
I mean, even to meet elevations with the bathroom or an office in there, it would have to go above the top of the roof that's there now.
right?
Because of the requirement that he has. So I know we talked about that option. Hey, can we elevate an office and we can elevate the bathroom? And maybe work on with FEMA and trying to get that business, the rest of the shop on the ground. When I was out in my health care, I tried that with him. She discussed it with him. What if he does do this? And they come back and shot that down too. Yeah, he can go ahead and elevate that, but they still want that business to be elevated, the shop itself.
If this variance is allowed and say the jury allows this, and I'm not saying they are,
Yes, sir.
but if this is allowed, what is gonna be our, I don't know, what you would call it, what would FEMA say or do against the parish?
They basically, they'll let you do the variances that they approve of, like the functionally dependent use and stuff like that. When you start doing variances for different things like this, they can actually put you on probation, where everybody's insurance goes up 5%. And I don't know if they would make you remedy the situation, the variance that was issued, or the 2 or the 3 or the 4. You know, we don't know that. The next deal, if we can't come to compliance with what we did or maybe didn't do, or are they gonna do anything, or when they gonna do anything if we issue 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know. But they could kick in at an NFIP also. That loses your subsidized flood for your homeowners and businesses.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
This say, Miles, if we would, I know it was already told to us about, as long as we don't form no pattern of, and a lot of things we have, including the buildings we had left from Audrey, like old buildings at the station, all that's all gone now. So a lot of the violations we had are wiped out. So, but say, Mark, we would give him a variance pending, let's say this is something y'all think of, everybody think of, pending that he would actually, get your machine, start doing, legitimately, have a mechanic shop there. You know, and pending that, then give him a variance where he wouldn't have to elevate his office or his bathroom, or that's just something to think about. As long as you'd have a legitimate business, tires, changing oil, mechanic work. Now, I don't know what the rest of how you prove. As long as you would. We need a business. We need tires.
Yes,
we need a changing oil. I'd rather go to you than have to go all the way to Lake Charles.
Well, at the moment, the only thing I would be, it's clearly the variance for the building to even conduct business there, because I'm not allowed. And then we even looked at getting a porta potty. Me and Miss Kara and Miss Robin, we did a lot of things and tried to do a lot of things where I wouldn't have to come ask for a variance, because I live in the parish. I understand what it could do in that, but I think it's very valuable to the parish to have this down here, because you working back and forth, you're down here at 6 o'clock, try to get a tire man over here to get you upside the road, and then the cost of it, it would just, but anyhow, it would be for my building and just a bathroom. I scratched the whole idea of an office just to kind of lessen that burden. And the only reason why it would be a bathroom in there, because the fire marshal is pretty steadfast about it.
You're gonna have a bathroom.
Yes, sir.
You will.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Stand
up, please.
The health department, I own a shrimp shop in town. He could bring in a small camper and set his office up in the camper with the bathroom. He's gotta have hot water facility. That would alleviate any variances with the office. And it would, it suffices restroom facility. So we're back to letting him work out of the shop.
Well, that's one of the issues. They're saying the shop is not qualified either, but they want it elevated,
What I'm saying, let's start at the list why we can't have the shop. You can get rid of the office and bathrooms, but you can still comply with health and hospice with the bathrooms and the office and the camper.
Yeah. Could he do that?
It still don't allow the shop.
The shop itself, the structure is allowed BFE.
Well, you can't put a building on the ground. I see
So
buildings on the ground all over the place. Why can't you put a building?
We're trying to treat it as an accessory structure too with FEMA. We asked, well, can he have an accessory to his home? But it's not accessorized. It's not an accessory structure. It's a business.
It goes from accessory structure to a business structure.
It goes different.
Is there any possibility of a dual purpose permit? In other words, people get an ag building, got cows, got feed in their ag building, but they also probably work on their tractor. They may even charge other people to work on their tractor. I don't know, I don't care. My point being is there any way to do a dual purpose permit, just allow him to be done on the ground?
It's permitted as an ag structure now, and we're converting it, he doesn't supply all the paperwork and stuff that we need to convert.
But if he turns it into a business, it kicks all that out?
That's correct.
It's hard to be into compliance.
So it's an ag, it was, or is it still an ag permit on it?
No, if he gets his variance, he's gonna get all the paperwork to us that we need. We already got some structured drawings, he's already got the sewer permit and all that good stuff, so.
So this building's up to code as far as a
It will
business?
be, it's gonna be.
Okay.
He has everything, we just need a one-page stamp right now, it looks like, with the window.
And we'll need the fire marshal.
Yeah.
Who's totally against this? Is the fire marshal?
No, he just hasn't submitted his drawings yet to
Yeah.
get the approval from the fire marshal.
The fire marshal's totally on board.
He's spoken with them.
As long as I do the bathroom, send my drawings, submit my paperwork, they're on board. They're not bucking me in any way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Well, I care about FEMA.
I know, I'm just saying the fire marshal don't.
Yeah,
Otherwise they'll give it.
My problem is we can't afford for FEMA to kick us in the butt.
Oh, we couldn't afford it, when we did the last variance over there, but, I still have the same opinion, I'm not gonna vote for no variance until the people are allowed to have a variance of residency. I'm not voting for no variance.
Yes, sir.
And no offense to you.
None taken.
Nothing else. This jury can do what they want like they did last time, I don't have a problem with that, I just personally cannot support that.
Yes, sir.
And that's my opinion on how I'm gonna treat this.
That's how I'll stand too. Nothing against you.
Yeah, no, not a problem, sir.
But if the jury majority of the jury wants to do it, I don't have a problem with it. I can't support it. I didn't support it last time and I won't support it till some kind of way the FEMA's gonna change their ways and allow our poor people to have access to their homes. Hey,
FEMA's never
this
gonna
government,
change it unless we push their hand and change our ordinance.
this government is shutting down projects in this area we don't even know about. I mean, they trying to, you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to eliminate the coast, people on the coast, businesses too.
Well, look, let's get back to the thing
Well,
at hand
that's
here.
true.
Well, yeah, I understand, but we're dealing with an item here. Let's continue with that piece. Where do we need to go from here?
I don't,
It's not on the voting
If
meeting.
you want to
but-
consider that to be added to the agenda.
I'm just saying, is there a way that, I don't know how we could say it, like, for Mark to, that it's gonna be a legitimate business. I mean, he's providing most everything he needs to have. We've got the fire marshal left, and what else left?
The stamped plans on the wind loads.
And then, so I don't know if there's a way like that, if we can give a 6-month.
But this the deal, was got, before it was just the bathroom, now it's the whole structure.
Yeah.
So FEMA's saying that the whole structure is not qualified. So when you give them a variance, it's gonna be for structure, bathroom, everything, So, what I'm getting at, whether he's totally in business yet or not, it's not really gonna make any difference towards FEMA. I mean, they're saying the whole structure needs to be.
No.
Correct.
Well, I'm not totally convinced that we've got all the information that we need, and I don't see us moving that forward to a voting.
Do you have a paper from the fire marshal stating that everything is?
I do not. All I gotta do is submit my paperwork. Of course, I'm not gonna submit all this paperwork, pay for LLC, spend over $1,000 on the sign, $12,000 getting me equipment that would make my job easier, faster, to do all these things, to just be told no and have all this money in something I could only use for my personal, So.
Can you issue a variance based on a condition? And when that condition is met, can that variance be, or let me put it this way.
That's a good way to go, is if you're not established in 6 months.
That's right. If you
Yes,
If you base a variance on a certain thing, he's telling us he's gonna put a tire shop there, and you issue a variance to him, and he does not put that tire shop there, can you reject that variance?
It has to meet.
Revoke it.
Yes, if
To
the,
us.
correct, because the use is being changed, and that's not what the variance was approved on.
Okay, so you can take that variance away.
The last step.
I didn't know that.
So, once a person comes in and applies for a variance, the jury acts on it, it's approved. The last step for the applicant to do, the parish submits a variance requirement form, and we stipulate and acknowledge all the conditions that it has to meet. To answer your question you just asked.
And they'll also have a
They
thing
have
where
to-
you can do a 6-month deal like we did with the store in Grand Chenier, where they can operate for 6 months. Is that right? And
Well, y'all,
Like
after.
Kelly Moore did?
Y'all just, y'all did do that at that time, but after Hurricane Laura, y'all actually voted to work with
John?
any,
Mechanics,
not really
labor.
that, but to work with any business that,
Right.
we could allow them a temporary permit while working towards construction.
That's what I, with Lee coming out with, that's what I was, about the 6-month deal, that's what actually I was, just
Yeah,
didn't come out
the
like the way it came
construction would be, hopefully from my understanding, to build my bathroom inside my shop, not to be elevating, because, I mean, it just wouldn't be feasible. So the 6 months would be, I would take to do the bathroom, get my tire stuff, get going and have it fully running and going in 6 months. I'm definitely not here looking for 6 months to elevate this structure. I mean, it's not feasible for me.
But if we gave him a 6-month option to give him a variance, with 6 months, you got 6 months to put your tires in there.
You got 6
get-
months
get
to
your
open up the
going.
business.
Get
Is
your
that what
business
you're
going.
saying?
What are you gonna,
To spec, what are you gonna do
but
after
for
that?
him, are you gonna
Well, if he meets
actually in
it, well,
6
if he-
months come back and approve it after he done put his money into it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's no problem.
That-
So,
that's the-
so the question is, do we move this forward to a vote or not? And you really need to answer this, because there's a possibility, because it's gonna fail.
Yeah, I mean, y'all just voted on one recently. I mean, I know each of y'all got y'all's opinions. It's kind of do or die. Either we'll push the meetings back forever, or are we gonna get a vote on it to where I can start or not start? And then maybe
you want to vote on it today or not?
I would like to see it get voted on today. I'm sure there's ways I could appeal it and maybe reapply later down the road if it don't.
Says a vote on it.
Scott, what you want to
We're
do?
gonna move this forward to the vote meeting.
I would say that it's my district, and that don't mean anything, we represent the whole parish.
Right.
But I would like to see, give him 6 months, give Mark 6 months, pending that you get your tire machine. Now, I'll give you my word, if you get your tire, this is me, you got my word.
I understand that, but I'm not.
No,
it's
no,
not
hang
fair.
on, but what I do, I give you my word that, I mean, you get your tire machine, you start doing business out there, I'm good with the variance, letting it go.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you don't put a tire machine, you don't change oil, you're just doing it just to putting off and just to have a variance, well, then that's different. But if you get your business going, we need fixing flats, we need oil changes, we need all that. Anything that we can help bring our people, businesses
No,
back here.
I'm 100% serious about this.
So, now, I don't know if the rest of them will go for that option to give you 6 months to get your business going and give you that variance, and if you don't, then pull it.
So, Mr. Scott, like I said, about the variance requirement form, that's gonna be the last after the vote, if it is approved. That is one of the steps. He has to get that form signed, notarized, and at that time, he brings that back, then a permit is issued. And we have to have all the required documents
So you'd have to have all
before we issue the
your,
permit.
pending all that, you'd have to have all your required
Right.
documents pending all that. you know.
Right, and the permit, a development permit is only good for 6 months.
So, I mean, that's what I'm putting out there, that, I mean,
I just wanted to throw the procedure out there.
I just want to say this comment before we get off of this deal. We're looking at the future of our parish here. And if we deny all businesses every opportunity to come in, we might as well just shut the doors and go home. So at some point in time, we're gonna have to wrestle with some things like this. Some things need to be on the ground, some things don't. Restrooms, offices, homes need to be elevated, no doubt. There are some things that need to be on the ground, and we're gonna have to address that issue at some point in time and either wrestle with FEMA and get them to allow us to adopt our ordinance or change our ordinance, or we might as well just stick a fork in it.
Hey, look. I can't see FEMA changing their minds in no way.
Well,
They've changed it before.
Oh, yeah, they changed it before, but until 24, they're not gonna change it. Because we got a government right now, in my opinion, that's fighting our businesses, they're fighting our people and everything else. They're not out there to help to pull people
Most of the
along
time
the
when they
coast.
change it, it's in their favor.
You better believe it.
But our policy doesn't affect that. We're just talking about our policy in the future of Cameron Parish and businesses coming in. I mean, Thomas, the type of businesses that you do, some things you can elevate, there's a lot of things you can't. I mean, how would you elevate the docks 16, 18, 20 feet higher than the boat that you're gonna load on?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying a while ago about his business. How you gonna get a car 17 foot in the air to work on it? That's crazy.
So anyway, I don't know if there's any solution to this, but
I just
maybe
wanna
we
know,
should
do you
wrestle with
move
FEMA and get some kind of meeting with them.
So you want us to?
Absolutely, I mean, there's no progress without moving forward.
We're gonna put it on the voting meeting, Mayor.
Issue variance or not.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank y'all.
We may table it first.
Okay, number 10, Mr. Charles Benoit, RV permit, Holly Beach.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing? I thank y'all for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir.
I was recently denied a permit, and I think it's due to the fact that everybody has tunnel vision on the way that this RV looks like. It is an RV, it is classified by the state as an RV. It just looks like a small mobile home. I was told it was a tiny house, this and that. But according to the documents I have and your own rules, I mean, it meets all the criteria. And I had spoke to this gentleman right here, I can't recall his name, and we had a discussion about it, and he had brought some stuff up about FEMA, but FEMA doesn't have anything to do with the RVs. I had originally purchased a license for an RV in the year, and I thought that would be good enough, but when the RV showed up, she received so many phone calls that, people were concerned, and there were problems where people have showed up with them before, but I think it was the park models that they showed up. They didn't actually go out their way to find an RV that looked like this. There's all different kinds of RVs. The bumper pools, there's the little pop-ups. I mean, RVs this day and age are all shapes and sizes. So, according to my paperwork, I feel that I should be allowed a permit for this.
Does it, when the manufacturer classify it as an RV?
Yes, sir. This is, can I approach you? This is, this is on the door of the RV. So if you want to pass that down to me.
Let's see. Park model RV is designed for temporary.
This is actually
It
a
has the
type.
holding tanks itself?
No, sir. It has no holding tanks.
I got a copy of
Went all
that.
the way to Washington.
I got a copy.
I mean,
I got all of it.
it meets all the criteria right here. If you like, I can read it, I read it out loud.
Yeah, I can see it.
I'll read it out loud if you need that. It says here, recreational vehicle means a vehicle which is built on a single chassis, 400 square feet or less, which it is, it's 395. Measured at longest horizontal projection, designed to be self-propelled, permanently towable by a light-duty truck, and/or designed primarily not for use as a permanent dwelling, but for temporary living quarters for recreational, camping, travel, or seasonal use. Which it is. It's got all the lights, it's got the quick disconnect, it's got a 50 amp plug, it's got a water hose connection, and it's got a permanent tag on it.
Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. I got a great example. Got a good friend of mine from Alexander. They had a similar, just like that, tiny home. It's got RV, whatever on it. Had it ready for beach. Of course, our little permit department doing what they've been told they have to do. Wanted them to elevate, wanted to force them to elevate. Well, if she'd elevated her tiny home, that little RV they pulled behind his truck, they would have it today. It was on Redford Beach, it had been wiped out and gone. Well, all they did was unhook their quick connects, grab onto it, and they left, went back to Alexander with it.
Correct.
So I don't see why we can't have them. You know, we've been fighting that crap for years, you know, and wanting to, I mean, if I wanted one, hell, I might want one of them. You know, I mean, I got an RV, mine's a fifth wheel, but,
I agree with you, I'm 100%. The last time we was in here and the hurricanes hit, we went to Austin and fought that because it's a lot easier to live in one of them than it is a travel trailer. It got shot down in Austin, it went to Washington. I thought I had a chance, got ready to go to Washington, and Washington sent us a letter and shot it down. Because it didn't have holding tanks.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, and you keep saying live in it. It's not to live in. A RV is for recreational use. So it's on the ground, and that's where the misconception is. Then we start trying to apply stuff that FEMA is not into this. We're not using it as for housing. It's for camping, travel, and it meets all the criteria that your own checklist has, including a permanent tag, and it's also titled as a travel trailer. The state says that it's an RV.
And FEMA actually puts these in.
The sewer is tied into my I'm sorry.
Yeah, no holding tank.
What do you do with the sewer?
It's tied into the 500-gallon system that's there, just like an RV would be.
Let me talk to Miles real quick, get the other side to see what the issue actually is.
Okay. So originally he came in and he permitted for a recreational vehicle. He did a permit for a recreational vehicle. That was the only one he did. And he signed that it was gonna be for a recreational vehicle. Okay, so we got all that. What he's got is it's a tiny home, it's a apartment home, tiny home. After Rita and Ike and the one that hit New Orleans, we had to go through all that. People were buying their own, FEMA had their own, everybody was getting them. So it's built to a standard, recreational park trailer standard, and the ANSI standard, no wind loads, okay? So what happened is, when everybody started trying to get these and get involved and want one, Louisiana State Uniform Construction Code Council, that's your building code, that tells us, we're going to a different code, we're doing this, the electrical, all that. They took it up and said, look, they don't meet, they gave it two criteria, it either gotta be this one or this one, because they're not gonna accept this one in the state, okay? So it either had to be built to HUD or whatever, manufactured home, had to be built to that standard, to the HUD standard, or to the residential international building code. And it's to neither one. Okay, the other thing is with FEMA, they did make a decision on these. It was said, and there's a letter from FEMA. This is regarding park model trailers and whether they are classified as RVs per the NFIP, per the manufacturer's publication. There are two categories of park models. The wider category needs a special permit from the highway department to be moved down the highway. These are not classified as an RV per NFIP. I think this one here is 11.3 foot wide. Anything over 8.5, you're gonna have to permit to pull it down the road.
That's where we got in trouble.
Right, and the thinner category does not require special, they do make a park model that's less than 8.5 foot wide. Okay, if they meet the rest of the criteria of a recreational vehicle, they are allowed per NFIP. But the wider ones, they said, because it takes that permit, it's not allowed. So you got the federal government and you got the state government who dictate both to us, because we're in both of the programs, saying we can't have them. That's why in the past we had one in Holly Beach, we had this lady or somebody in Grand Chenier, we had to bring all them to court. And we had to do our part as the enforcement of it. I understand his point. Yeah, can you just hook on to it? It's not totally designed like an RV. You know, it's got a gable end roof and everything else, so.
How wide is your trailer?
It's 11.3. And on this form, the bridge formula from the state that I was also given, all it requires is a $10 permit to be hauled down any street. So for $10, I can go to any campground, I can hook onto it, it can be pulled with a pickup legally, and it can be pulled into Holly Beach.
Yeah, I did that, I even brought it up to where, look, we don't need a permit if there's a hurricane coming, it's a disaster, you know, we can haul them out. And they said, well, it's over 11 foot wide, so then you're gonna jeopardize people.
Anything
over
over-
8 foot wide, you would jeopardize everybody else getting out. I mean, they brought up every reason they could. I fought for this hard.
Well, I hope that you continue to fight for it right here because you have an opportunity yourself to kind of dictate something that's going on. But anything I think over 8 foot 7 inches requires a permit. But all they want is their tax dollar. $10 says you can go anywhere with it. People that have RV lots down here, there's a couple places. I could be allowed to pull into any one of their RV spots and hook up and camp legally. I mean, there's nothing that dictates that. It's just because that I think people got the misconception that it's a house, and it's not a trailer house. I had, believe me, I had to search high and low to find one that was classified as an RV and still had the numbers on it, the stickers, the title, the permanent tag. I mean, according to the state, they say that it's an RV. And I mean, y'all sell RV permits and do a lot of RVs in and out of the parish. You know, and the whole reason for me investing in an RV is because if it's up in the air, it's in harm's way. Something's getting tore up due to a storm. I promise you this RV is not going to be there if we have a threat of a hurricane or a storm.
How long is it?
It's 35.
11.3 by 35.
Yeah, and the square footage is 395, which also meets under the 400-foot requirement. Now, I hate to say this too loud, but my fifth wheel that I have is over 400 square feet, but nobody, you know what I'm saying? Nobody looks at it. And if you check.
Well, it's 8 by, you got 8 by 45 is what you permitted for your RV. So that's 360 square foot. You don't measure what the slides.
Oh, you don't measure what the slides out? Well, in the event, you know, a lot of people with the slides, that was a problem. They stay out and the weather tears them up when they come for a storm. Oh shit, they gotta stay there. You know, they can't haul them down the road. Even though you can haul with a permit, you could possibly get it out. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, I feel that, it meets the requirements. The state says that it's an RV. I mean, and that's my argument. I mean, that's, you know, I have a lot of money invested in this. I mean, if I was just pulling up to go camping, he said, oh man, you can't have that. Spending $100, I might be tempted to turn around, but, you know, I'm fully vested in this thing, $100 grand plus. You know, and I went out of my way to find it.
You're wanting to leave it there as permanent?
No, sir. It's coming in and out. It's temporary use only. It's not that it's going, and in fact, your RV policy says that every 180 days or something that they need to be moved. You follow me? So it's not staying there permanently. And, I mean, I just would ask for y'all to consider this. And like he says, he's got an opportunity here to maybe set some type of precedent, you know?
Tom, do you have anything to say about that? I know you didn't want to get involved, but.
I have a question to make sure I clarify where we're at in the process. He's been issued an RV permit, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But he's been issued a letter saying he's not in compliance.
Well, he permitted for an 8 by 35, okay.
So the next step would be, if he didn't do anything, you'd send it to me for civil proceedings, and, okay.
That's correct.
So there's really, he hasn't even applied for a variance, I'm not sure. I mean, so this is just, he's complaining about the letter he got.
Well, yeah, we don't send a violation letter because the RV wasn't there.
There's no action for you to take.
That's correct.
He's got a permit, but your permit department says he's not in compliance with the permit in the ordinance. And he's here complaining about that.
And I've asked, I'm sorry.
That's all, this is a complaint. And then you can complain to me about it, but at the end of the day, it's not a matter whether it's an RV or not. Recreation, it's the width. If he even says because of the width and because of primarily the potential of it hindering evacuation. Now his may be pristine, perfect, everything works. But we've seen most RVs that get tried to pull out of here, they haven't been moved in 3 or 4 years, this, that, and the other, and it does cause problems on your highway and evacuation. That's FEMA's concern. It's a legitimate concern. Maybe his is perfect and he doesn't have an issue with it, but we can't piecemeal, we can't go through and say, well, this is a good RV, this is not a good RV. The problem, the whole point of it, there's no action for you to take. The question becomes, do we, when they decide that he's not complying and they send it to me and I file suit, and the judge decides what to do with it. So it really is not.
Just like somebody putting a trailer house down here.
Yeah, just like if somebody got an RV permit and put a mobile home instead, and they went through the process, they send a letter, but most people don't come up here and complain about it. But again, there's no action for you to take.
Well, I haven't received a letter yet, and clarify that FEMA, I don't think, says anything about the width of it.
My understanding, we went through this 15 years ago. And it's clearly FEMA says that's not gonna pass, as a recreational vehicle within the statute ordinance.
On FEMA standard.
On state standard. So again, there's
FEMA's
no
in
action
charge
for
of
you to
housing.
take.
Okay.
That's if somebody's wanting to live in an old park model that FEMA has. This is a recreational vehicle. This has nothing to do with the housing commission, with the FEMA.
Yeah, we done did the letter of violation and sent it. We ain't got the green card back.
So evidently, have been conversations about it, I guess.
Yes, we've had
So
conversations.
there's been conversations, he's aware that there's an issue. There's a letter drafted, it's a typical letter that we send to a person who has an issue. He will get the letter soon, and ultimately, it's not going to fit within any exceptions, it's not gonna fit within FEMA's description of a recreational vehicle, or it may fit within the description, but it's beyond the width because it requires a permit to move it. Again, I don't make the rules, they don't make that rule, but we're subject to FEMA's authority when it comes to that, and none of us agree with it. I mean, I can say that right now, but we are subject to that, and this is not a hill I'm willing to stand and fight on.
Okay. Well, Mr. Benoit, I'm sorry, but we can't help you.
Oh, well, could I please,
Sure.
get a copy of where it says that FEMA says it's gotta be a certain width? Do you have those?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you, I wanted to buy one of them, and the main reason I didn't, because it didn't have holding tanks, and we had some more problems with it, and I just didn't want to fight it. So, I feel for you, believe me.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping I'm not gonna have any problems with holding tanks. I mean, it's connected to sewer,
Sure, it's
you know?
connected to sewer, yeah.
But,
I agree.
Moving on up.
We're gonna go ahead and move on. Thank you, Mr. Benoit.
thank y'all very much. I appreciate it. Okay, thank y'all. Oh, let me get
The agenda.
Yeah, we need to review the agenda.
You're welcome, bud.
I got a question on number 17. What is this? Authority to get fair market value on Cameron Dump property to negotiate purchase of 20 acres.
So we currently lease the Cameron Dump property and the road to it, and that lease is coming up for renewal. And so we were trying to see if we can get all of our leaseholders to start selling us the property. Because we're running into an issue now that you have so many heirs that are own the undivided property that we're having a hard time negotiating new leases for dump sites that have been in the parish for 60+ years. So the Cameron Dump's the first one that came up, the lease is coming up. They are willing to consider selling the property, and they're actually even willing to consider selling the 20 acres with it. And so this is just us asking for authority to go work with them and see if we can negotiate a fair price to purchase just the dump, purchase the dump plus the 20 acres, and then versus just signing another lease with them.
So we just give
We end up having to do that,
We're just gonna,
give you authority to go negotiate. Check it out.
yeah.
And
yeah,
come
we don't
back
need,
to us.
we don't need to
Come
buy
back to you for a
property.
decision.
We buy the dump site, we don't need 20 acres though.
Well, the 20 acres, they were wanting to sell it, and so we wanted to see what type of price we could get it for, because we could potentially use that as like maybe an emergency disposal site in the event of a hurricane. We could start cleaning roads and use that to stage the material, the debris,
Good
until we're
idea.
ready to ship it to a final disposal site, if we ever needed it. But if if we don't need the 20 acres, then, you know,
I think
be
it's
up
a
to you
good
guys to
idea.
decide. We just wanted to bring you options.
I think it's a good idea.
And so like another issue we're having with the Klondike dump, they sold the property, so our lease transfers to the new owner, and the new owner doesn't want a lease, he actually wants
Right.
us to purchase it. And so we're trying to get out of all these long-term leases if we can.
What about number 18, the boat launch? Another Klondike.
That's
Are we
what
selling
Trevor's
that or
talking
we
about.
buying that?
We were not,
Bye.
fix to kick us off.
Yeah. We have the new generation wants to sell everything. They don't want to lease property to the parish, so. And the reason why we ask for your authority is because there are some costs that are associated with us getting fair market price, you know, raises.
Right.
Are they willing to sell it to us, and that thing's already built, the parking lot's there?
Well, no, yeah.
I say go with it.
We bring everything back to
Negotiate it.
you for final approval.
I got one question. Number 12,
Yeah.
do we have to, why are we doing?
Okay, so I was gonna talk about that. I have two things on here. So, back a few months ago, Waterworks employees, the parish took over the Waterworks employees for Creole. Typically, when their water superintendents pass different levels of certifications, they get raises for obtaining those certifications, and the board would grant the raise. Well, because now there are employees, the board can't really grant a raise, and we have our Creole Waterworks employee who just passed his level 2 certification, which is consistent with all of the other superintendents across the parish. And so we're requesting $1.50 to $2 an hour raise for him. It still makes that employee underpaid compared to the rest that have their 20 and 30-year experience, but it's something, an incentive to keep him.
And I'm good with that. I'm good with that, but it brings up another question. Are we gonna ever have a board to take care of that again, or are we gonna continue to take care of it?
We're consolidating everything.
But it's not there yet.
They there
Okay, once the board's there, we won't have this question here.
Employees go back to the board. So
Well, they'll eventually go to work for, they'll be
And that's
back.
and that's being consistent with what we do with our own.
Exactly. Is that what the other departments do?
yes, other water boards, they would vote on it when he would pass. Now, what we do, we normally would have to wait till January to even start talking about granting it, but because he just passed, and that's a pretty high level test, we don't want to make him wait a year and take a chance of him moving on somewhere
We
else.
want to be consistent with what other
It's
boards would
consistent
do.
with what other waterworks boards
Right.
do for their employees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, can we take a break?
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey, she ain't
No, no,
through
no, no.
yet, Curtis.
You can't adjourn it. You can't adjourn it yet. We're not.
What didn't do?
She's.
Add-ons?
We got, yeah.
Add-ons in the OEP pavilion.
Is there an executive session?
I'm sorry.
We can talk about the OEP pavilion at the voting meeting.
I just have to, okay. So the add-ons for the voting meeting is gonna be the COVID policy change, and the Mark Daigle variance. And also, I got an email yesterday to add on the sponsorship for the Fishing Festival. We normally give $5,000 a year, and we just hadn't received the paperwork. They sent their apologies. I wanted to go ahead and add that on so we could approve
Where's that
that.
gonna be held at?
It's gonna be in Grand Chenier again this year.
Until they get this done out here.
We got a tournament coming up on the 28th.
Here?
Yeah.
I don't understand, why can't the tournament be held out of Canada?
The Lions Club makes that
The
decision.
Lions Club makes that decision.
And they thought it was in the best interest of the public
For safety
and
and,
safety and everything, because there's still construction going on over there.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot.
we're already equipped to have it at the Grand Chenier Park, and they usually have a pretty good turnout there anyway, so we wanted to just wait one more year and make sure that when we bring the festival back to Cameron, it is finished, and, because that's the way you introduce it to the public anyways. Go
They
ahead.
have to bring it to Grand Lake.
There's our president right here of the Lions Club.
The fishing rodeo tournament, we had to make a decision for promoting it, the locations, posters, advertising, and we made that decision, I think, last Monday or Tuesday. I went out there that morning, and I don't see there's any way you can, within the next 3 weeks, we have any party out there.
No.
With, just no. So, because of
Just
that,
no.
we decided to put it back at Grand Chenier, where it's been since we've lost our other facility. As soon as it's ready, which we expect it will be ready soon, it'll be there next year, and for the years going forward, it's gonna be a fabulous facility. But for now, it's just not ready. We've talked about the idea of when it is ready, having a grand opening, and it'll probably be in the fall when it's a little cooler. But it'll be a grand opening for the whole parish, it just won't be for the fishing festival. It'll be a fabulous, something the parish, that you should be proud of. So that was the reason, it's just really not ready.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
And just a reminder, the Marketing Festival is at the end of this month, and all help is appreciated, so all of you that don't have anything to do.
How much it pays?
How much
Nothing.
it pays? Nothing but satisfaction.
Get in free and have a good time serving people.
It costs the heck out of me, I don't know. But anyway, anybody else? Anything else?
I'm good now.
Katie, don't have something?
So you have,
We can
for
talk about that after.
reg board, you got that on there?
It's already on there.
Anything else?
We have executive session, so.
Yeah, next.
You take
We
a
might have,
break?
yeah.
Today,
Now, right now,
We need at least a 2 or 3 minute break.
5 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 2-minute break.
And we'll be back.
Well, I'll be